everybody. All right, let's get rid of these. Thank you. Oh, we've got a timer. Good. Okay. Right. I'm also going to have problems with the clicker. I can see this already. I'm going to talk about what good communication learn from baseball. It is very important to bear in mind at this point that I have done one version of this presentation before, but to an English audience. And there are two things that you can know about English audiences. One, even if they've never seen it before, they've all seen it all before. And two, they don't know shit about baseball. So I was kind of relying on the fact that that audience knew nothing about baseball to get away with it. Can you put your hand up now if you follow baseball or a baseball team in some capacity? Oh, I'm in trouble. Okay, cool. Right, we'll see how we get away with this. Please bear in mind the baseball noob as we're going through. It's also, I just wanted to say, I've actually been in New York for 3 months. I've been in New York for 3 months. I moved here at the beginning of July. I'm really, really loving being here. One of the reasons I'm loving being here, I don't know if you can see that, but is the American habit of adding peanut butter to anything that stays down long enough, which is a wonderful invention. I'm very, very proud of you guys. Thank you. But also, one of the other reasons that I'm loving being in New York is because I'm newly converted to baseball. I moved in with a big baseball fan about 4 years ago, and I am obsessive about it, and it's so lovely being close to it. So one of the reasons that I'm talking about baseball now is because last week saw the most exciting night of baseball in baseball history. I don't know if anybody was watching this, but the battle for the wild card spot in the American League was absolutely extraordinary, and it went down to the very last day of the season and the last pitch of the game. This is Bud Selig, who is the 77-year-old commissioner of the MLB, who is basically has been around baseball, I guess, his entire life, and he said this about Wednesday night. He said, "Wednesday night, I'm going to tell you, only baseball could have provided that moment. The historians are saying it was the greatest night in baseball. I don't remember anything like it. I never remember a night like this, and it was a first for me. I don't often let myself have that kind of emotion, but I'll tell you, I went to bed feeling proud and got up in the morning feeling proud." And anybody who is a fan of baseball will know that moments like that don't come along very often. You have to do a lot of sitting around for a moment like that. So I thought this would be a good time to talk about it. Somebody told me, actually, in every average 3 hours of baseball, there's 19 minutes of actual action, and I think that probably sums it up. But my other area of specialization, not that baseball is an area of specialization, but the other thing I know about is communication, because I work for Contagious magazine, so that's the thing that I wanted to compare. And I wanted to talk about why good communication is like good baseball, because there are things that you can apply to it. Because you need to switch things up. In baseball, you need to switch things up. This is Roy Halladay, who was a pitcher for the Phillies. Roy Halladay has 4 different kinds of pitch. He has a 2-seam fastball, a 4-seam fastball, a curveball, and a 10-mile-an-hour changeup. That basically means that if you're a batter coming to face Roy Halladay, you have absolutely no idea what is coming at you. It basically means he's almost unhittable. He's one of the best pitchers in baseball for this reason. And we know, from a communication standpoint, we know this. What can we learn from this? We learned that the same strategy only works for so long. You have to switch things up in order to win. And there are brands doing this all over the place. My tidy example of this is Uniqlo. Can you put your hand up if you've seen some brand activity from Uniqlo in the last... Yeah, this is an advertising audience. You can pretty much guarantee. There are sort of 24 people in this room checked in on Foursquare, so I'm assuming that assuming that everybody's seen Uniqlo brand activity as well. The thing that Uniqlo do incredibly well, you can see this here. The look of the week is a sort of fashion blog. The Uniqlo cubes down at the High Line, that's a sort of retail experience. This thing here is New York Voices, which is basically, it's a sort of people of New York telling their stories whilst dressed in Uniqlo. The Lucky Counter was a British campaign, Lucky Line, Taiwanese campaign. But the thing that they do is they change it up all the time. It is never the same pitch twice. And Uniqlo has built a global brand by dishing out different things to different audiences in this very fast way. Baseball as well. Baseball is like communication because you can cheat by stealing bases. This is the hardest thing for a British person to understand about baseball. A stolen base basically means you're running when it's not your turn to run. And if you've been raised on cricket, that's cheating. And I was like, someone's like, oh, he's just stolen the base. And I'm like, oh my God, can you do that? I was absolutely aghast. And it's a very, very difficult thing to explain to somebody when it basically looks like cheating. So I'm using it here. The stolen base, advancing when it's not your turn to run, is a really, really beautiful analogy for, like, tenuous but beautiful analogy for earned media. So basically leaning into the frame of popular culture in order to extend the effect that you're having with your brand. And the nicest recent example of this is Nike Mag. I'm assuming that everybody's seen this. Everybody has been on Nike for years and years and years to release the sneaker that Marty McFly wore in Back to the Future Part 2. About 2 weeks ago, they did it. But they did it in a really interesting way. They did it with a beautiful HTML5 design site. They auctioned 150 pairs a day on eBay, so as order to build this kind of reputation over time. They gave all of the proceeds to Michael J. Fox's Michael J. Fox Foundation. in order to help him find a cure for Parkinson's. They did a promotional video starring Bill Hader and Christopher Lloyd, basically talking about it, and really delicately seeding the fact that the self-tying laces, do you remember the self-tying laces? They're coming in 2015 because that's when the film was set. So they basically bought themselves another 4 years to figure out how to get the laces to tie themselves, which I think is kind of like, that's so smart. They're like, we're doing it now for Parkinson's disease. Shit, somebody come up with an idea to do this. So basically, Nike Mag, by leaning into this frame, by associating themselves with Michael J. Fox, by contributing this sort of CSR kind of way, they're managing to steal a series of bases and just get this incredible publicity out of something that's basically a new product launch. Oh, I've got to keep moving. Because you have to stay awake. I'm not going to dwell on the fact that the Boston Red Sox lost 12 games in a season, at the end of the season, and suffered the worst September collapse in baseball history. I'm not going to dwell that they lost out on a wild card spot to a team that had a salary cap of like $100 million less than the Boston Red Sox one. I'm definitely not going to dwell on the fact that, sorry, I could really dwell on this. I'm a Blue Jays fan. I could dwell on this for a really long time. I'm not going to dwell on the fact that it is the worst season collapse in baseball history and that their entire team sucked from beginning to end, but I am going to say that you have to stay awake. The Red Sox thought they had it in the bag. 12 games to go before the end of the season. They thought they had it in the bag, and the Rays were coming up behind them. And then they lost focus for 1 second, and it all fell apart. And that happens in branding, like, really more often than we would like to do. This is my favorite thing of the week. American Apparel launched a competition a couple of weeks ago in order to find a plus-sized model. They launched it with this. I'm not sure if you can see this language. I'm quite conscious of time. But basically, this language was sort of, people took offense to it. It was a bit chummy for a brand that's built its sort of reputation over the last 10 years on very, very sexualized image and also not catering to larger women at all. To come along and be like, hey, we're looking for people who need a little extra wiggle room where it counts. We're looking for curvaceous bods. Bloggers immediately took offense to the tone of this and the sort of very chummy, patronizing tone of it. And one particular blogger was like, actually, I'm going to enter this campaign for myself. And she uploaded the following series of pictures to the thing with the caption, I'm a size 12 and I just can't stop eating. So you can see it's her posing in a swimming pool with some fried chicken, naked with a jam tart. This is her in a bath of ranch dressing as well, which was particularly exceptional. And because the internet is the internet, and because you cannot rely on people to leave mischief aside for 1 second if there's mischief to be had, she won. She won the competition because it was open to a public vote and everybody voted for her. And like, because that's what we do, because they were like, oh, this is awesome. So she absolutely won, and American Apparel didn't see this coming until too late and sent her a message saying, we're really disappointed that you're not getting into the spirit of this. We have given the winning award to somebody else because we don't feel like you're getting into the spirit of this. She posted it on her blog. Everybody picked up on it again. It's one of those cycles of self-perpetuating negative publicity. And the subsequent result of that is that American Apparel have had to write to her again and say, look, there are a lot of women in charge here. Please come to our factory. Please come and have a look at what we're doing and then see if you still feel the same way. They've had to confront it head on because it's been forced that way. So you have to stay awake because mischief on the internet is a very, very powerful thing. And also finally, because you need to rely on a lot of people to pitch a perfect game, this is the 18th perfect game in baseball history. In 104 years of modern baseball, this is the 18th perfect game. This is Mark Buehrle from the Chicago White Sox. Pitched a perfect game last year. A perfect game, for those of you who don't follow baseball, is 27 people up, 27 people down. Nobody gets on base, nobody gets a hit, nobody walks, nothing. Just people come up to bat and then people go and sit down again. That's it. And as a pitcher, it's almost impossible to do. It's very, very difficult. But the thing that nobody talks about with the perfect game is, as a pitcher, it's incredibly difficult, but nobody ever talks about the fact that you have to deal with the team as well. So in the top of the 9th inning, when Mark Buehrle was 2 pitches away from the end of the perfect game, Dwayne Wise, this guy here, covered 115 feet in 6 seconds and climbed out of the ballpark to catch a pitch that somebody had batted there. You can see him going up against the wall, just booted it and caught it like that in order to keep that perfect game alive. And Mark Buehrle will be the person who goes down in history as having been the person who pitched the perfect game, but Dwayne Wise was the person who kept it alive for him. And from an advertising perspective, just wrapping up, you're going to have to look at this in your own time. The Heineken Star Player is an iPhone application that Heineken released in order to put players into the Champions League football game. It basically syncs with the clock on the soccer game and you play along with the game. It's very, very exciting. But one of the things that they did, it took AKQA a year to build this. It took a PR company 2 months to get a strategy to do this. It took an outdoor media company a really long time to figure out how to get the hoardings around the football field synced up with the app, so live real-time results from people playing the game could be pushed out on the field at the same time. And it took Heineken an inordinate amount of money and a lot of trust in their agencies in order to do it. So collaboration is not a dirty word, and the people you have behind you are the people who really allow you to pitch that perfect game. Lessons from the MLB: change things up regularly, steal ahead wherever possible, stay awake at all times, and get great people behind you.